Hello. Today we will be doing a gentle movement practice. This can be for days where you're maybe just feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or even you just need a little grounding practice, or even a good bedtime practice. So you'll want a pillow or a bolster. Regular pillow will do, and 2 yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can grab some like jars of peanut butter, something kind of like that, some books, anything that you can kind of stand up and just use to rest your hands on. So grab your things and join me on your mat. Press pause if you need to. Okay, so we are going to start by having your pillow lined up, or bolster lined up behind you, and you're going to lay back on it. If you're like, Christy, my pillow's too short, grab a block, another pillow, put it behind your head. And just take a couple breaths here, breathing out. Your option if your knees are bent or legs are straight. This can just give us a little opening in our chest, so arms are out at your side. They don't have to be super straight. They can be slanted down a little. Just in a way that feels good. And just notice your inhales and exhales, and play around with the idea on your inhales. You're kind of stretching certain areas, so maybe big back, mid back, right behind your heart. Maybe shoulders, maybe hips. Just notice your spots. And we'll take one more breath here. And then roll onto your side. Set that pillow, bolster, whatever you have to the side. Bring feet to the mat nice and wide to the edges. Arms can come straight out this time, but they don't have to be super high up by shoulders. They can be down a little. Just find something that's comfortable. And you're going to windshield wiper, knees to one side. Inhale, back center. And exhale over to the other side. So nice and slow, slowing down your breath, slowing down your movement, and not forcing anything. Our goal is gonna be to let there be a little ease. We can be good at thinking things have to happen, and they have to happen now, and we have to force them. And in turn, we can create a lot more work for ourselves than things need to be. I'm laughing because I'm very guilty of this. So if you are guilty of this, you are not alone. Next time knees are up to center, go ahead and hug them in. Maybe rock side to side and massage that low back. Maybe even drive knees, so hands on knees, fingers toward toes, and drive one knee in circle, other circle. And if you're like, Christy, I can't reach, don't worry. Just find a way to make it feel good to move hips, knees, legs a little here. And then if it feels okay, bring those knees nice and wide toward your armpits. Relax those shoulders down. Again, we're bringing ease, so we're not like pressing them to the widest they go. We're actually going to bring our hands to the outside of our legs, just gently, maybe thighs, maybe on knees if that's enough, just wherever, to feel like we're giving them a little support. If you bring them down to thighs, you can bring elbows down and then relax shoulders and just breathe. We're going to extend left leg out, heel to the mat, and bring this right knee up and over to the side a little bit here. Relax, shoulders down. bring it back to center, over to the side a little bit. Just kind of moving back and forth. Super gently here. And then shift your hips over to the right and drop that right knee over to the left a little bit. Just in a way, it's just a little bit. If you're getting back cramps, come back, readjust. And then back to center, over to the side, just moving through this a little. And then go ahead, extend your right leg out long and bring that left leg in. Bring knee up toward armpit area, and I don't mean arm, just out to this side, just up a little bit, and then back to center. Just moving it and getting curious about your mobility here. And then bring it back to center, or shift hips over to the left, bring it over to the right a little, and don't force. We're finding ease, so we don't want to force this twist. It's more about mobility and moving hips in different directions. And then go ahead, come back to center, extend legs out long, arms up above. Play around with pointing heels instead of toes and keeping shoulders down away from ears a little bit, but still stretching, and maybe one hand reaches up and then the other, and maybe your feet start moving along with those hands in some way, just a little bit, just playing around here. And then exhale, relax. Bring feet to the mat. Roll onto your side and come up to seated. Seated here, you can sit on a pillow if you want, your yoga block, whatever. You're just going to move into some circles here. Torso circles. So again, all we're doing is just noticing how can we stretch the spine, the hips, all those places. So our spine gets lubricated by us moving it in different directions gently. And when we do that, we can have more mobility there. Otherwise, as we are on this earth in this body longer and longer, things can get a little stiff, a little creaky. So go ahead and reverse directions here. So all you're doing is about just what feels good to me. You're not trying to look a certain way, just what feels good to you. Take a breath to finish up and come back to center. From here, when you're ready, we'll move on to hands and knees. Have those blocks or peanut butter jars or whatever kind of handy, because we will be grabbing them and using them. And actually, if you want to set one on each side of your mat, go ahead and do that now. Hands come to the mat. Check that wrist, shoulders, elbows are lined up. Check that knees are below hips. I always like to put mine in a little closer than I need to, so give your hips a little space. And just start to circle those hips here. Big circles. And kind of get into it, maybe moving your spine a little bit too. Reverse direction. So we do so much sitting, walking in one direction. So we're just kind of giving our hips a little mobility in the other directions. And then come back to center, and this time maybe move spine side to side, kind of like you're a snake. So your head goes toward the direction of one hip and then the other. And again, it's just gentle, gentle, gentle. And then one last movement for our spine is going to be inhale, chest forward, head up, cow pose. Check that shoulder blades are kind of separating here. Collarbone is opening, whatever that means to you. Don't force, find the ease. Exhale. Let the head hang, start to press away, separating those shoulder blades. And then just continue this with your own breath in your own time, slowing down your breath. Giving yourself a moment to pause, to feel the ease. Beautiful. From here, you're going to kind of come up onto your knees, grab those blocks, grab those jars, whatever you have, onto your knees. Bring right knee forward. Maybe move it to the side a little bit toward the right just to give yourself a little space. Lean forward a little bit. Check that that front knee isn't over your front ankle. And just play around here. Hands can go to those blocks. If your knee doesn't feel good, roll up your mat, get a blanket, get some extra padding there. Beautiful. So take one more breath here, and then we're going to play around with straightening that knee. And when you do that, you're kind of scissoring hips together and making sure you're not locking that front knee. So scissor hips together means feel like this front thigh, the back of it is coming toward the front leg, back of the thigh is coming toward the back leg, front of the thigh. So like your right hip is coming back, left hip forward a little bit, but then soften that knee and then bend back into it. And just play, and this doesn't, you don't have to worry so much about that squaring the hips. Once we stop moving, we'll get into that a little bit more, but just that idea. And then when you're ready, you're going to keep that leg straight. Come up nice and high, fingertips on your blocks. Do that scissoring so it feels like this right hip is coming back, left hip forward, just a tiny, tiny bit so our hips are square here. Little softness in that knee. And then grow nice and tall, and then hinge with your hips and fold forward. We're not about looking a certain way. It's all about feeling that stretch. And then play around. Maybe you want to point that front big toe. Maybe you want to flex that foot so toes are coming back toward your face. Just like play around with what feels good. And you can have movement here, or you can find some stillness. But let it be easy. Don't force. So often we are taught if we're stretching, we want to force it and make it happen now. No. Find some stillness and come to your breath. Let your breath do the work. Exhale, feel like you're sending your exhales to that spot that you're stretching. Check with shoulders, relax them here, maybe shake head no. Just how can you bring ease to this? It doesn't have to feel like we are forcing things to happen at max capacity. Like we get to live life with some ease. And then go ahead and come back onto knees here. Set those blocks aside. You're going to bring hands to the mat and then move your hips back toward your feet. You can choose if knees are spread out a little or next to each other, forehead toward the mat for child's pose here. If it doesn't feel good, just lie on your back. Do something to just take a little breath. If wrists hurt, you can do some wrist circles here. Just notice your body. Maybe move hips a little and then find some stillness. A little movement, a little shimmy to get all of the tension cleared a little here. And when you're ready, come back onto hands and knees. Grab your blocks, your jars, whatever you're using this time. Bring the left leg forward. Lean forward a little bit here. That same feeling like we're bringing this left hip back, right hip forward, just a little bit of squaring here. And then where can you soften? And sometimes we don't know our bodies that well. We don't know how to make them soften, so play around. Give yourself permission to play around. How can you release that grip a little bit? It's these things people can tell us, but it's different in our body, and we understand different ways, so we just have to play around with it. And again, you can come back to that straightening that front leg and bending into it, just that gentle movement here. And then when you're ready, come back to that straightening. Bring your blocks back a little bit, grow nice and tall. Bring that left hip back a little bit, right foot forward, grow nice and tall from your spine, and then hinge at the hips to fold forward to feel the stretch. Not about touching your foot or reaching any way, just about feeling the stretch. And then play around. Do you want to point the toes, flex, play around with that a little bit. Just get to know your body. And then find stillness and softness. Where can we release? Where are you holding tension? Sometimes I find myself squeezing my butt cheeks when I don't need to be, or squeezing my jaw or something. So just kind of shake that out. Exhale fully. Find some stillness and find some ease with it. And if you are like me, you may be thinking, what is Christy talking about? Ease and stillness. Stillness is so uncomfortable. It is. That's what we're here to practice, to learn, is finding ease in it, because we are used to going. So there's nothing wrong with you if you are thinking I'm crazy right now. I'm not. It's a learning process. Awesome. You can bring that leg back. Come on to knees. Cross feet behind you. Come down to seated. Grab your block. If you don't have a block, grab your pillow. Fold your pillow in half, okay? First, just kind of check in with those legs. Lay down, stretch legs out, maybe shake them out a little bit, just whatever you need. And then bring feet to the mat, knees in the air. Grab your folded pillow or block and put it underneath top of your butt. Sacrum area, if that feels good. Arms alongside of you, wherever they feel good. You have a couple options here. Stay here. This is where I want to be today. This feels really good. Another option, to bring heels up toward the ceiling. Soften knees a little here if that feels good. If you try it and it doesn't feel good, come back down. So these are some options here. Believe it or not, having a little blood flow back up toward our head in either of these positions is great for winding down, great for calm. Just let yourself breathe here. Come back to breath. When we're silent, it also can be a time where we're holding our breath, right? Waiting for what's going to happen next. So just practice breathing in that stillness to let you know that everything is going to be okay. All this is a little recharge. If your legs are up in the air, bring them down. If it feels okay, you can extend legs long, heels to the mat. Sometimes this is too much on the low back. If it is, just come out of it. Don't think there's something wrong with you and you need to force it. Remember, we're all about finding the ease. And because this can be intense, whenever you're ready to come out of it, even if I don't tell you. That actually goes for everything. Like, this is your practice. It is about you. When you're ready, bring feet to the mat, knees in the air, lift your hips, remove that block. Come down to your mat. Option to have that pillow underneath your knees or bolster if you'd like, and extend legs out long. Take some breaths here. Soften jaw. Soften face. Let yourself just feel the ease and letting the ground support your body. Sometimes we feel like we are all alone. We forget. We have support. Support. We can lean on the ground. We can lean on others. We can ask for help. It is not always easy, but it is worth creating more ease in our life. We can't do it all. It doesn't mean we're broken. It means we're human. Humans living in a time where we get to break the idea that our worth is tied up into productiveness, into doing, where we realize that ease is okay when we can create it for ourselves. Stillness, pausing, rejuvenates us to reset. Just give yourself a couple more breaths here. And this is your home practice, so stay as long as you want. When you're ready, find ease in slow movements and coming back to life. Take your time. Give yourself this gift of ease, if only for a few minutes. And thank you for practicing with me.